Welcome to the Fun Astrology and Merriman Market Analyst Saturday Financial Podcast. I'm Thomas Miller. Thanks for joining us. This is the free newsletter that's published every week on MMAcycles.com. That's written by financial analyst and astrologer Ray Merriman, somebody who has been doing this. Coming up this next year when he does his forecast book will be year 50. Obviously, a little bit of experience doing this, so we will see what he has to say about this crazy week past and the one ahead. This first quote is from Christopher Wood, a Substack article entitled "The Financial Assets Most at Risk from Trump's Bull in a China Shop Strategy." He says the 47th president has continued to behave like the proverbial bull in a china shop. This is fundamentally bad for all U.S. financial assets, particularly Treasury bonds and the U.S. dollar. The equity rebound in recent weeks is the direct result of Donald Trump's seeming U-turn on his stance on China tariffs, thereby confirming that the U.S. does not have the cards in this particular poker game. Meanwhile, the U.S. dollar index has broken below the 100 level with remarkable ease. End quote. Now, a tweet that was reposted on June 5th, 2025 by Elon Musk, quoting Donald Trump from July 31st, 2012. Back then, the now president said, "No member of Congress should be eligible for re-election if our country's budget is not balanced. Deficits not allowed." End quote. Now Ray's comments. As we rapidly approach the June 19th to 27th supercharged cosmic period containing a slew of outer planet aspects, several markets are soaring to their highest levels since the tariff-driven mini-panic of early April. With part of this outer planet configuration involving Jupiter square Neptune, it's not surprising to see the investment community return to a path of irrational exuberance instead of hysteria and another mini panic, despite the emotional outburst going on in the political realm. Perhaps a more quote-unquote normal cause for the roaring stock markets has to do with many central banks continuing to lower their interest rates in an attempt to avoid a recession. However, that has not been the case yet in the United States, where turbulent political dramas and uncertain economic policies still weigh heavily on investor confidence about the future. It's all a reflection of the chaotic leadership style of the U.S., with an underlying belief that Trump will yet give up his obsession with tariffs. I wouldn't be so sure. Nearly every global stock index that we track had a positive week except Brazil's Bovespa. Most rallied to their highest level in several weeks, with the German DAX being the only one to achieve a new all-time high last week. However, the most impressive rally was silver, which exploded to its highest level in 13 years, reaching a high of $36.51. Gold, on the other hand, showed promise with a rally to $34.17 on Thursday, well below its all-time high of $35.09 on April 22nd. That was an MMA 3-star critical reversal period. So that's a case of intermarket bearish divergence. This was followed by a plunge back to below 3,300 on Friday. This is a troublesome sign for gold when silver leads the way up, for that tends to happen near the end of bullish cycles, not the beginning. In other markets, crude oil rallied to its highest price in 6 weeks, not surprising as Jupiter heads towards its square to Neptune, as both planets rule crude oil. Bitcoin was down last week to a new 4-week low as it tested $100,000. It still has legs to go higher, as we will discuss in next week's mid-year webinar. Now, the short-term geocosmics. From the Rolling Stones back in 1966, written by Keith Richards and Mick Jagger. 19th nervous breakdown. You were still in school when you had that fool who really messed with your mind, and after that you turned your back on treating people kind. On our first trip, I tried so hard to rearrange your mind, but after a while I realized you were disarranging mine. You'd better stop, look around. Here it comes, here it comes, here it comes, here it comes. Here comes your 19th nervous breakdown. Then this lyric posted on TikTok on May 28, 2025. It's a new song by astrologer Robert Thibodeau of Mayflower Bookshop. If you don't meditate, I can't help you. Now, Ray's thoughts for this short-term Geocosmics section. He says, here comes our 19th nervous breakdown. Jupiter, square Saturn and Neptune. And with the full moon, emotional, in Sagittarius, exaggeration, next week, combined with Jupiter, exaggeration, ingressing into Cancer, emotional, it's a cosmic symbol of emotional overload. It may lead to the 20th nervous breakdown after last week's eruption between President Trump and his political benefactor, Elon Musk. Dramatic feuds, war threats, and the potential for a black swan event increase even more with Mars square Uranus on June 15th, an aspect that can kick anyone's ass who isn't on top of it all with any sense of clarity as to what is really happening and going to happen, which is just about everyone. With Neptune highlighted, clarity becomes an elusive commodity. These signatures conjure an image of thousands of talking heads all at once, with no one listening to the sounds of silence, which is where any sense of clarity is even possible now. This is a powerful cosmic arrangement to reflect upon for deep meaning and future possibilities. It's not one to be complacent about, especially if you're a leader, world or otherwise, who needs to establish trust with the majority of your constituents. If you let them down and they see you as untrustworthy, incompetent, or flat out wrong and careless in your critical judgments, the floodgates could open wide. That's Jupiter square Neptune. Jupiter square Saturn is the sense of loss and anxiety that follows. What do we do now? Where do we go for safety? Answer: if you don't meditate, pause, can't get control over your emotions, and overreact to difficult situations, no one can help you. Your next nervous breakdown is waiting. As you look at the lineup of planets next week, you have to be impressed with the possibility of overload. It begins with the one-year ingress of Jupiter in Cancer, which offers one safe haven path, the way back home to those you love and share a special, warm, emotional bond of support with. Go there. Find refuge if this is getting to be a bit too much to handle alone. Then comes the real bombardment of stellar activity. First is Venus, just entering its home sign of Taurus, but square to Pluto, also on June 9th. This symbolizes the classic conflict between credit and debt, making money versus spending it. How do you balance these two competing forces? It's great that the U.S. Treasury is raking in record receipts, and it's not so great that government spending is growing at a rate much greater than those receipts. That can cause a downgrade in credit. It just did. The Credit Debt Balancing Act can be psychological, too. If someone gives you something of value, Venus in Taurus, why do you not then show gratitude? Venus and Taurus always want gratitude. Why do you reject any favors asked in terms of a fair reciprocity? A nation gives an airplane to court your favor, and you brag about it. I give you hundreds of millions of dollars to win an election, and you assign me to the underside of your bus. Credit versus debt. Gratitude is replaced by rejection. It hurts, as Jupiter, a lot of hurt, is also just entering Cancer, of feelings. This dynamic goes into overdrive on June 11th when the full moon in Sagittarius occurs. What do you do when your beliefs and principles are violated? Do you fight like a warrior, as the moon in Sagittarius is inclined to do, knowing that you may break some glasses for being so brutally honest? Or do you hold back and draw on the necessary wisdom of Jupiter and Sagittarius, needed to rekindle the closeness you desperately want? That phrase, bite your nose to spite your face, comes to mind for both sides of this feud. It's all leading up to Mars squaring Uranus and Jupiter squaring Saturn on June 15th, followed by Jupiter square Neptune on June 19th, and then the Sun conjunct Jupiter and square Saturn and Neptune June 22nd to 24th. The grievances and disillusionment don't end as quickly as hoped. In the words of Janis Joplin, "Oh Lord, won't you buy me a Mercedes-Benz? My friends all drive Porsches or airplanes. I must make amends." With Jupiter entering Cancer, of nostalgia, and square Neptune, of music, it's a conducive time to find insight into current conditions in songs from the past. For most of us, this emotionally overloaded time is most intense through June 24th. For President Trump, this is happening with his birthday right in the middle on June 14th. So it's a theme that may persist all year in his case. Does he really want to celebrate his birthday with military tanks rolling down the streets of Washington, D.C.? Is that really the message this nation needs to send out with Jupiter square Neptune of questionable judgment and Mars square Uranus on its leader's ascendant in Leo? Yes, it fits the symbolism of the cosmos in one way, but it may arouse hostile reactions in others that can lead to a black swan event in another way. Is it fear, Saturn, or trust, Neptune, the nation needs from others right now? The markets may be overreacting with irrational exuberance presently, but when prices rise into a Jupiter-Neptune hard aspect, markets often become vulnerable to sudden reversals within the next few weeks, if not days. In 1/3 of historical cases from 1936 through the start of this century, 50-week or greater cycle crests have happened within 11 trading days of this aspect. We will discuss this, as well as the new multi-year run-up in silver and other markets, in our annual mid-year market update, which is next week, right on, you guessed it, June 15th. And all of the information for subscribers and those interested in subscribing is right there on the free newsletter at MMAcycles.com. Just look for the tab up at the top, free weekly newsletter. Ray, thank you for your comments for this week, guiding us during these challenging times. I have an overview video that will be out this week also on the Fun Astrology YouTube channel. Robert Glasscock and I did a video last week about Jupiter entering into Cancer. That's available on the Old Soul, New Soul YouTube channel. So we have a lot of material out this week on it, as well as what the Merriman folks will be doing next week in their special market update. See you on the video and back on Monday with a full week of podcasts. Thanks for listening. Have a great rest of the weekend.